My wife filed for divorce to clean me out, but it backfired spectacularly when I found out she'd been cheating for 8 months. I lawyered up and burned her plan to the ground. Hey Reddit, after 13 years of marriage, my wife served me divorce papers and tried to clean me out. But the tables flipped when I found proof of her affair and used the prenup she totally forgot about. Now she's miserable. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the shit show. My name's Daniel, 40 male. Here are some things you need to know first. I built my collision shop from nothing. Started 9 years ago in a rented bay with a borrowed frame machine and a dream that my dad thought was stupid. Worked 16-hour days learning paint mixing ratios and dealing with insurance adjusters who treated body shops like we were all trying to scam them. Now I had 6 bays, 8 employees, and contracts with 3 major rental car companies. The shop is doing great now, and I still show up every morning with grease under my fingernails. Heather liked to tell people she supported my dream, back when we were eating ramen and I was maxing out credit cards to buy equipment. Once the money started rolling in, her version of support looked more like yoga classes, designer bags, and trips with her friends. I didn't care. I worked, she spent, and I figured that's just how it goes when you finally make money. You make your wife happy. So fast forward to that day. The text came at 2:40 p.m. on a Tuesday. Don't come home tonight. Papers are being served at your shop tomorrow. I stared at my phone. 13 years of marriage. And my wife was ending it via text like she was canceling Netflix. The papers showed up the next morning. 45 pages that basically said Heather wanted everything. The house. Both vehicles. Half my business. Spousal support for 6 years because she'd sacrificed her career. That last part actually made me laugh. The big sacrifice was quitting her retail job 8 years ago because my collision shop was doing well. Since then, her job had been spending money. Yoga classes, designer bags, weekend trips with friends. I called my lawyer, Isaac, my older brother, who'd been doing family law for 15 years. She's going nuclear, Isaac said after looking through the petition, claiming you were emotionally absent, that she needs major support. This is scorched earth stuff. Can she actually get all this? In California? Maybe. If she plays this right and you don't fight back, she could walk away with half of everything. The business valuation alone is going to hurt. Heather had shown zero interest in the business, except to ask when I'd be home for dinner. Now she wanted to grab half its value. What can I do? We fight. Show she's lying about the hardship stuff. But honestly, Daniel, unless you've got something big, this is going to cost you. A lot. I hung up and stared at the papers again. Something felt off. Not just the divorce itself, but the timing. The way she'd done it. How she didn't hesitate with her demands. Heather was a lot of things, but spontaneous wasn't one of them. She planned everything. Vacations, dinner parties, furniture buys. She color-coded her closet and kept spreadsheets for household expenses. She didn't just wake up one day and decide to blow up our marriage without having every single detail figured out first, which meant she'd been planning this for a while. Beth knocked on my office door. My shop manager. The only reason things stayed organized when I was elbow deep in a frame straightening job. Daniel, Terry is here about the insurance estimate. Right. The fleet account that paid half our bills. I shoved the divorce papers into my desk drawer and focused. Whatever was going down with Heather, I still had a shop to run. 8 employees counting on me. Customers expecting their vehicles back. I couldn't let my marriage blowing up destroy everything else. The meeting ran late. Terry wanted to talk about expanding our contract with his rental company, which should have been great news. Instead, I kept checking my phone, half expecting another bomb from Heather. By the time I got out, it was past 7. I drove to the house and used my key. Dark, empty, smelling like her perfume. I walked through each room looking for anything that might tell me what was going on. Her closet was half empty. Clothes gone, but everything else still there. Photos, jewelry, books. Like she was coming back or had left in a rush. Her home office was locked. That was new. I grabbed a screwdriver from my truck and popped it open. The office looked normal at first. Then I noticed her laptop was gone. The external hard drive, also missing. I opened her desk drawers. Bills, receipts, birthday cards. The bottom drawer was stuck. I yanked it loose and found papers shoved way in the back. Credit card statements. For an account I didn't even know existed. $42,000 in charges over 8 months. Hotels, restaurants, jewelry, spa packages for 2. I sat on the floor with papers around me, trying to wrap my head around it. Heather had always been super careful about finances. This was a secret account I'd never heard of. My phone rang. Unknown number. Some woman confirming a deposition for next Tuesday. Settlement conference in 5 weeks. Heather was trying to rush this. I called Isaac. She's trying to push this through fast. That's weird. Usually when someone's in a hurry, they're scared you'll find something, or they need it done before something changes. Like they're planning to remarry? Or hiding money. Daniel, you need to start digging. I looked at the credit card statements. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe. That night I stayed in her office, going through every paper I could find. By morning, I had a pattern. Hotel charges every other Thursday, restaurants every Saturday afternoon, jewelry buys lined up with my out-of-town toe jobs. She wasn't just planning to leave. She'd already been living a whole other life, and she'd left a paper trail. I showed up at Isaac's office at 8 a.m. looking like garbage. His assistant took one look at me and went to make coffee without asking. Isaac read through the statements. This is good, but we need to prove what the spending was for. Hotels alone don't prove she cheated. We need proof of who she was with. How? Do you remember your prenup? I blinked. We have a prenup? You signed one 3 weeks before the wedding. Dad made you do it after Mom's divorce. You were mad as hell. I'd totally forgotten. What does it say? He pulled the paperwork. Page 7, Section 4. If either person cheats, the one who got cheated on keeps all their stuff, and the cheater gets nothing for spousal support beyond personal items. Heather's SUV is in both our names. Then she gets nothing, if we can prove she cheated. How? Phone records. Can you get them? We pulled them up. Heather's history showed one number popping up 53 times over 8 months. Blake, real estate agent, age 34, married with 2 kids. Isaac was already typing. Let me see what else I can find on him. You should check social media. Blake's social media was locked down tight, privacy settings on everything. But his wife's wasn't. Hannah had a public account full of family photos and mom stuff. I scrolled back through 8 months of posts. Most were typical. Kids at soccer, date nights with Blake, complaining about parent-teacher conferences. Then I found it, a post from 5 months ago. Anyone else's husband suddenly working late every Thursday? At this point, I should just start having juice by myself. The comments were full of other wives relating to it, but it was the date that got me. Every other Thursday. Same pattern as the hotel charges on Heather's credit card. I showed Isaac. We need to talk to Hannah. No, you need to stay away from her. If Heather's lawyer finds out you contacted the other wife, they'll say you're harassing her. But, he stopped. There might be another way. What way? You remember April? April. Heather's best friend from college. They'd been tight for years until some fight about 8 months ago. Heather said April had gotten toxic and jealous after Heather's life turned out better. I'd never gotten the full story. What about her? If Heather was cheating, April might know. Those two used to tell each other everything. And if they had a falling out around when this affair started, April might be willing to talk. Isaac nodded. Worth a shot, but you can't approach her directly. Too obvious. You need someone who can feel her out, see if she knows anything, and if she'd help. Who? What about my wife? Nina and April used to do yoga together. She could reach out, catch up over coffee, see what happens. Nina was basically a ninja in suburban mom form. If anyone could get information without being obvious about it, it was her. Do it, I said. For the next 3 days, I lived in controlled chaos. During the day, I ran my shop like nothing was wrong. At night, I camped out at Isaac's house, going through financial records and building a timeline of Heather's affair. Because that's what it was. Not just suspicion anymore. Every piece pointed the same way. Heather had been seeing Blake for 8 months, spending money I'd earned on hotel rooms and expensive dinners, planning her exit while I worked 70-hour weeks to keep everything going. What burned the most wasn't even that she cheated. It was how calculated it was. Heather hadn't left because she fell out of love or we grew apart. She'd been testing out her replacement, making sure she had somewhere to land before she bailed. Except she'd forgotten about the prenup. And now that screw-up was about to cost her everything. Nina called on Thursday evening. Got something. April's at a coffee shop downtown. She's ready to talk. April looked different than I remembered. Thinner, sharper. She was sitting in a corner booth at some place downtown, and she didn't smile when I walked in. You look terrible, she said. Thanks. Nina said you needed to talk about Heather. I'm guessing it's not for marriage tips. I sat down across from her. When did you two stop being friends? About 8 months ago, right around when she got serious with Blake. So she knew. How much do you know? April stirred her coffee, not looking at me. Enough. I told her it was stupid. Told her she was throwing away something good for some midlife crisis thing. She told me I was jealous and bitter because my marriage didn't work out. I'm sorry. Don't be. I was jealous. Your wife had everything, and she threw it all away because some real estate guy gave her attention. She finally looked up. Why are you here, Daniel? Heather filed for divorce. She's trying to take half of everything, but I found proof of the affair, and we have a prenup that kills her claims if she cheated. Good. She deserves it. I need proof. Do you have anything? She paused for a minute. Yes, I think I do. She pulled out her phone and scrolled for a minute. Then she turned it to face me. The photo showed Heather and Blake at some restaurant I didn't recognize. His arm was around her waist. Her head was on his shoulder. They looked like they'd been together for years instead of months. When was this? 4 months ago. We were supposed to have lunch, just us. She canceled last minute. Said something came up. I went to the restaurant anyway, saw them together, took the photo. That's when I stopped talking to her. Sure. I looked at her. You were waiting for this. I knew she'd mess up eventually. Heather's always been good at planning but terrible at covering her tracks. She thinks she's smarter than she actually is. What else do you know? Blake's wife doesn't know. He's been telling her he's working late on deals, building his business. Hannah's clueless. She posts these happy family photos on social media, while her husband's meeting your wife at hotels every other Thursday. I need to ask you something, I said. If this goes to settlement, would you testify? Or at least give a statement? She didn't hesitate. We talked for another hour. April had more than just one photo. She had text screenshots from Heather, bragging about expensive gifts Blake bought her. Details about their plans to eventually get married once both divorces were done. Even info about a trip they'd taken to the coast while I was at a towing conference in San Francisco. Did she mention the divorce plan? All the time. She had it all mapped out. Blake's lawyer friend helped her figure it all out. That explained the rushed timeline. Blake's lawyer friend? Some guy named Dylan. Works at a firm downtown. He's the one who told Heather she could clean you out if she played it right. I texted Isaac right away. Find out everything about a lawyer named Dylan who works with Blake. By the time I left the coffee shop, I had enough to blow Heather's case apart. Photos, text screenshots, testimony from a former best friend, plus the prenup she'd forgotten about. Isaac called as I was driving back to the shop. Dylan works at a firm downtown. He's Blake's college buddy. And guess what? He's the one who sent Heather to her lawyer, Meredith. They set this up together. Looks that way. Blake wanted out of his marriage without losing money. Heather wanted out of yours while gaining money. They've been coordinating their divorces. Can we use that? If we can prove their legal teams were working together, absolutely. But Daniel, this is getting messy. We need to file a response to Heather's petition, and we need to do it smart. If we show our cards too early, she'll have time to change her strategy. What do you think? We file a basic response. Don't mention the prenup. Don't mention the affair. Just standard denial of her claims and request for fair distribution. Let her think we're going to fight this the normal way. Meanwhile, we gather every piece of evidence we can find. Settlement conference is in 5 weeks. We make our move there. Hit her with everything at once. I like that. Let's do it. The next morning, I went back to the house. Heather had changed the locks. My key didn't work. I called Isaac. She locked me out. File a police report, then an emergency motion for property access. The police report was filed by noon. Emergency motion by 2 p.m. By 5 p.m., I had a court order saying Heather had to give me access. I showed up at her mother's house. Heather came out, looking exhausted and pissed. I held up the order. You need to give me a key. She grabbed the paper, read it, threw it back at me. Fine. She got a key, handed it over without a word. One more thing. My lawyer wants to schedule a deposition. We'll be asking about credit cards, spending patterns, relationships with other people. Her face changed. Flash of panic. What credit cards? The $42,000 in charges. Those credit cards. I walked away. Let her panic. Let her wonder what else I'd found. The game was changing, and I was about to flip the board. The settlement conference was scheduled for a Monday morning. Heather's lawyer had been pushing for quick resolution, sending more and more aggressive emails about reasonable settlement terms. Isaac had been politely saying no to all of them. 3 days before the conference, Isaac called. We need to talk strategy. I left Beth in charge of the shop and drove to his office. He had everything laid out on his conference table. The prenup, the credit card statements, April's testimony, phone records, everything we'd gathered over the past 5 weeks. Here's how this plays out, Isaac said. We walk into settlement with all of this. We don't negotiate. We show them the prenup, show them the proof she cheated, and we give Heather exactly one option. Sign a settlement that gives you the house, keeps your business intact, and sends her home with $5,000 for moving expenses and her personal stuff. Her lawyer's gonna fight. Her lawyer's gonna realize she has no case. The prenup is solid. The proof is overwhelming. If they push this to trial, Heather will get destroyed. She'll walk away with nothing and owe us legal fees. What about Blake? What about him? I'd been thinking about this for weeks. His wife Hannah doesn't know. If Heather refuses the settlement, I want to make sure Hannah finds out. Isaac looked at me. I can't officially tell you to contact Hannah, but unofficially? He smiled. Unofficially, if I were you, I might mention to April that Hannah deserves to know. And I might suggest that April, as someone who cares, might want to reach out. April already offered. Then you're all set. Then, Monday morning, I showed up at the mediator's office in the cleanest work shirt I owned, carrying a folder full of evidence. Isaac was already there, looking ready for battle. Heather showed up 10 minutes late with Meredith, her lawyer. She looked put together, confident. The mediator, a woman named Barbara, took us into a conference room. Let's start with each side presenting their position. Meredith, you filed the petition. Would you like to go first? Meredith pulled out her notes. My client is seeking fair distribution of marital assets, including the family home, vehicles, and partial interest in Daniel's business. Additionally, we're requesting spousal support for 6 years to allow Heather time to rebuild her career. Isaac opened his folder. Before we talk about distribution, I'd like to present a document that was signed before the marriage. He slid the prenup across the table. Both Meredith and Heather leaned forward to read. I watched Heather's face go white. When did Heather started? 13 years ago, Isaac said calmly. 3 weeks before the wedding. You both signed it in front of a notary. It's a valid prenup. Meredith was reading fast, her face changing from confused to worried. This limits distribution based on misconduct during the marriage. Specifically cheating, Isaac agreed. If either person cheats, they lose claims to spousal support and property division beyond personal items. You can't prove, Heather started. Isaac laid out the credit card statements, phone records, and April's photo. $42,000 in secret charges. 53 phone calls to Blake. Documented dates at hotels and restaurants. Multiple witnesses ready to testify. Should I continue? The room went quiet. Heather looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. This is harassment, Heather finally said. You've been stalking me. I've been documenting your spending using joint financial accounts I'm legally allowed to access, I said. My client needs time to review these documents, Meredith said. Of course, Barbara said. Let's take a 15-minute break. Heather and Meredith left the room. Through the window, I could see them having a heated conversation in the hallway. She's done, Isaac said quietly. Meredith knows it. When they came back, Heather wouldn't look at me. My client disputes the timeline and context of these allegations, Meredith said. However, in the interest of resolving this quickly, we're willing to discuss a settlement that doesn't involve long litigation. Meredith looked at Isaac. We're willing to drop spousal support in exchange for a more fair distribution of the marital property. No, Isaac said. No. Here's our offer. Daniel keeps the house, his business, and both vehicles since they're titled jointly. Heather gets $5,000 for moving expenses, plus any items that are just hers. She signs a release giving up all future claims. That's it. Heather made a sound like she'd been punched. That's insane. I'm not signing that. Then we go to trial, Isaac said calmly, where a judge looks at the prenup and the proof of your affair, where your affair partner's wife gets subpoenaed to testify, where all of this becomes public record that anyone can see, including future employers who might want to know why your last divorce was so messy. You wouldn't try me. Meredith held up a hand. Can we have another moment? This time they were gone for 30 minutes. When they came back, Heather's eyes were red. She'd been crying. We'll agree to the settlement, Meredith said quietly. With one change, Heather keeps her personal vehicle, and the settlement payment goes up to $10,000. Isaac looked at me. I could have pushed, could have held firm at $5,000 just to twist the knife, but I was tired. And honestly, getting my life back was worth $5,000. Agreed, I said. It took another 2 hours to finalize everything. Heather signed without looking at me. When it was done, she walked out without a word. Isaac and I sat in his car afterward, neither of us talking. How do you feel? He finally asked. Like I just survived a car crash. Fair, but you survived. Yeah. I looked out the window. Now what? Now you rebuild. She's out of your life. You kept your house, your shop, your future. That's a win. It was a win. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like I'd wasted 13 years of my life, and I'd spent 5 weeks fighting for survival, and only now was I realizing how exhausting it had been. But I'd survived. The first night alone in the house was weird. Empty. 13 years of shared space suddenly just mine. I walked through each room, checking what Heather had taken and what she'd left. Most of the furniture was still there, She'd taken her clothes, some photos, her jewelry, the expensive kitchen stuff she'd insisted we needed but never used. But the house itself was intact. I ordered food and ate in front of the TV like I was in college again. Just me, leftover Chinese, and whatever was streaming. My phone rang. April. How'd it go? We settled. She's out. Good. She deserves worse, but I'll take it. Hey, I wanted to say thanks for the testimony. I didn't end up needing to testify, but I would have. Heather had this coming for a long time. Can I ask you something? Why'd you really help? We barely knew each other. April was quiet for a second. When my marriage fell apart, Heather ghosted me, just completely disappeared from my life. I realized she was never actually my friend. She just liked having someone around to make herself look better. When Nina reached out about helping you, it felt like a chance to do something decent. Be the friend Heather never was. Well, I appreciate it. Sure. Hey, if you need anything, let me know. I will. Thank you. After we hung up, I sat in the silence and tried to figure out what came next. Isaac called the next morning. Paperwork's filed, judge signed off on everything. It's official. That fast. You'd be surprised how quick things move when both sides actually agree. Congrats, you're officially divorced. Doesn't feel real yet. How are you doing? Weird, but fine. Good. Listen, Nina wants you to come over for dinner this weekend. Actual food, not whatever bachelor garbage you're eating. I'll think about it. I spent the next few days in a weird limbo. Work during the day. Empty house at night. My crew at the shop noticed something was off, but nobody asked. Small blessing. On Thursday, April called again. So I did something. What did you do? I reached out to Hannah. I sat up straight. You what? Relax. I didn't mention you. I sent her an anonymous message with info about Blake and Heather. Photos, dates, everything. She deserved to know. What happened? Check Blake's social media. He's been posting weird stuff about life changes and new beginnings. Word is Hannah kicked him out. I pulled up Blake's account. Sure enough, his latest post was some garbage about how endings are really beginnings. The comments were full of concerned friends asking if he was okay. Good, I said. There's more. Hannah's lawyer apparently filed for divorce yesterday, and she's not playing nice. She's going for full custody and maximum child support. How do you know this? I have friends who know people. Portland's not that big. Point is, Blake's life just got very messy. What about Heather? Haven't heard anything. But if Blake's getting divorced now instead of later, their whole plan just fell apart. She probably thought they'd be together once both divorces were done. Now he's fighting a custody battle and she's single with no job and no money. That's their problem, I said. Work was the escape. At the shop, I could focus on frame measurements and paint matching and insurance estimates instead of my demolished personal life. Terry called to finalize the expanded fleet contract, which would add another $500,000 in yearly revenue. Small wins. Beth knocked on my office door one afternoon. Daniel, there's someone here to see you. She says it's personal. I looked up, confused. Who? She said her name is Hannah. Oh. Hannah was in her early 30s, dark hair, wearing jeans and a blazer like she'd just come from a meeting. She looked exhausted. Daniel, I'm sorry to show up at your work. I didn't have your personal contact. It's fine. Have a seat. She sat in the chair across from my desk, hands folded in her lap. I got some information recently about my husband and your wife. I wanted to talk to you about what you know. How'd you find me? The information I got mentioned Heather. I looked her up, found your name, figured out where you worked. What do you want to know? How long have you known? About 5 weeks. I found credit card statements and phone records, started putting things together, and you divorced her. The settlement was finalized a week ago. Hannah nodded slowly. Blake told me he was working, building his business. I believed him. I was home with our kids while he was... She stopped, pulling herself together. I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer says I have a strong case for custody. I'm sorry you're going through this. Are you? Yeah. I know what it's like to have your life blown up by someone you trusted. It sucks. The woman who sent me the information, do you know who that was? A friend. Someone who thought you deserved to know. Tell her thank you. After Hannah left, I sat in my office staring at nothing. Heather had destroyed multiple lives chasing something she thought would make her happy. Now everyone was picking up pieces. That evening, Isaac called again. You're not going to believe this. What happened? Blake just filed a complaint against his lawyer friend Dylan. Claims Dylan gave him bad legal advice and that Heather's settlement sets a precedent that screws him. His words, not mine. So Blake's suing the lawyer who helped them coordinate their divorces. Yep, and Dylan's firm is reviewing whether to drop Heather's lawyer Meredith as a referral partner. This whole thing is turning into a legal mess. Good. Daniel, you won. You can let this go now. I am letting it go. I'm just enjoying the show. 2 months later, I was at the hardware store buying paint when I saw her, Heather, at the checkout counter, returning a bunch of expensive decorating stuff. The clerk was shaking her head, pointing at a no returns policy sign. I almost left. Could have ducked out the side door and avoided the whole thing, but something made me stay. Maybe wanting to watch karma play out. Maybe just wanting to see what her life had become. She looked different, tired, wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie I remembered from years ago. Nothing like the polished, put-together woman she was. The clerk was still saying no to the return. Heather's voice got louder. I have the receipt. These are unopened. You have to take them back. Store policy, ma'am. Home decor items are final sale. That's ridiculous. I need this money. She stopped when she saw me. Our eyes met across the store. For a second, neither of us moved. Then I walked over. Hey, Heather. Daniel? Her voice was flat. What are you doing here? Shopping. You? She grabbed her bag of rejected returns and walked toward the exit. I followed, not sure why. Outside, she turned on me. What do you want? Nothing. Just saw you and figured I'd say hi. Well, you've said it. Bye. She started walking toward the parking lot. I kept pace. How are you doing? I asked. I'm good, she said. Where's Blake? Her face hardened. None of your business. That bad, huh? Go away, Daniel. Does he know you have nothing? That you lost the settlement? She stopped walking. Did you come here just to gloat? No, I came to buy paint. But since we're talking, yeah, I'm a little curious how this all worked out for you. You destroyed everything. Heather, you filed for divorce trying to take everything I owned. You spent $42,000 on an affair. You locked me out of my own house. All I did was remind you that actions have consequences. Blake was supposed to... She stopped herself. Supposed to what? Leave Hannah? Take care of you? Let me guess. His divorce didn't go the way he planned. His wife took the kids. She's asking for full custody and massive child support. His business is tanking because Hannah's telling everyone what he did. He can barely afford his lawyer, let alone... She stopped again. This isn't your concern. So he dumped you. Heather's silence was confirmation enough. Funny how that works, I said. You blew up our marriage for a guy who couldn't even stick around when things got hard. You don't know anything about it. I know you made choices. You could have talked to me, could have said you were unhappy, could have ended things honestly. Instead, you lied, cheated, and tried to steal everything I'd built. Now you're mad that it didn't work out the way you planned. I don't need a lecture from you. You're right. You don't need anything from me. Have a nice life, Heather. I walked back into the store, bought my paint, left out the side door so I wouldn't see her again. Driving home, I realized something. I didn't feel angry anymore. Didn't feel bitter or betrayed or any of the stuff I'd been carrying for weeks. I just felt tired of the whole thing. She had made her choices. Now she was living with them. Isaac called that evening. Heard from Meredith's office. They're dropping Heather as a client. Why? Conflict of interest. Dylan's complaint names Meredith as someone who helped give bad legal advice. Her firm's protecting itself. So Heather has no lawyer. Yep. And since the divorce is final, it doesn't matter. But if she tries to modify terms or file any new stuff, she'll need new representation. She can't afford new representation. Probably not. I thought about her at the hardware store trying to return decorations for a life that didn't exist anymore. Do we need to worry about her trying anything? Like what? The settlement's solid. She has no grounds to challenge it. Unless she wins the lottery, she's not hiring another lawyer to fight a battle she already lost. Good. The house slowly became mine again. I repainted the bedroom, bought new furniture that I actually liked instead of what Heather had picked out, got rid of stuff that reminded me of her. It was therapeutic in a weird way, erasing traces of a life that hadn't been real for months. April called sometimes to check in. We'd become accidental friends through this whole thing. She'd invite me to group dinners or weekend hikes with her other friends. I usually said no, but sometimes went. You're allowed to have a life again, she said one night over coffee. I know. Do you? Because you're acting like you're still in crisis mode. I'm just busy. You're avoiding. There's a difference. Maybe she was right, but I wasn't ready to deal with that yet. Life was slowly getting back to normal, or at least a new version of normal. It was lonely sometimes, but it was also peaceful. 4 months after the divorce was finalized, she showed up at my shop. Beth buzzed my office. Daniel, your ex-wife is in the lobby. She says she needs to talk to you. Should I send her away? I should have said yes. Should have told Beth to show Heather the door and block her from coming back. But curiosity got me. Give me 5 minutes, then send her in. I wiped the grease off my hands and straightened my desk. Whatever this was, I wanted to be ready. Heather walked in looking worse than I'd ever seen her. She'd lost weight, dark circles under her eyes, clothes that didn't fit right, like she'd borrowed them from someone else. Thank you for seeing me, she said quietly. What do you want, Heather? She sat down without being invited, hands folded in her lap like a kid about to confess to breaking something. I need help. I waited, then asked, I thought you were doing good. Her face hardened. No, I am not. I'm living with my mom. I can't find work. Nowhere will hire me because there's a gap in my resume, and I can't explain why without bringing up the divorce. I'm broke. The 10,000 is gone. I have nothing. Okay? Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? What does that have to do with me? I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But Daniel, I'm desperate. I need money. Just a loan. Enough to get an apartment and get back on my feet. 13 years have to count for something. I stared at her. You're asking me for money. I don't have anyone else to ask. What about Blake? Her face crumbled. He won't talk to me. His divorce ruined him. He's paying massive child support and his business is failing. He blames me for it. Shocking. Don't. Don't what? Point out that you destroyed multiple lives chasing a fantasy that fell apart. I know I made mistakes. Mistakes? You didn't make mistakes. You made choices. She was crying now. I'm begging you. I have nowhere else to go. Then go to your mother. Go to your friends. My friends won't talk to me. My mom can barely afford to feed herself. I've burned every bridge I had. Then build new ones. That's not my problem. How can you be so cold? I leaned back in my chair. You want the truth? I spent 2 months angry at you. Angry at what you did, how you did it, the lies and manipulation. Then one day I woke up and realized I didn't care anymore. You're not my wife. You're not my problem. You're just someone I used to know who made terrible choices and now has to live with them. I made those choices because I was unhappy with you. No, you made those choices because you're selfish, because you wanted excitement and validation without having to do the work of actually fixing a marriage. You wanted an easy exit with maximum profit. It didn't work out. That's on you. So you won't help me. I didn't say that. She looked up, hope flickering. I'll give you one thing, I said. Advice. You're a grown woman. Figure it out. Get a job and accept the truth that you've screwed up. She stood up, face red with anger and embarrassment. You're enjoying this. You're enjoying watching me suffer. No, I'm just done caring. There's a difference. I hope you remember this when you need help someday. I will, and I'll handle it myself, like an adult. After she left, I sat in my office for a long time. Beth knocked eventually. You okay? Yeah, actually I am. What did she want? Money? Help? Someone to blame? Did you give it to her? No, I gave her reality instead. Beth smiled. Good for you. That night, I went to Isaac and Nina's house for dinner. Brought food and actually stayed for dessert. We played board games with the kids. Normal, boring family stuff. It felt good. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run. Something I hadn't done since before the divorce started. The neighborhood was quiet, sun just coming up. Everything still and peaceful. At the shop, Terry called about expansion. More vehicles, more revenue, more work. My collision shop was growing faster than I'd planned. Heather had tried to destroy me. Instead, she destroyed herself. I wasn't going to waste any more time feeling bad about that. I'd built a good life once. I'd do it again. And this time, I'd build it for myself. No compromises. No sacrifices for someone who didn't appreciate them. Just me, my life, my friends, and whatever came next. That was enough. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true. My wife left me for another man, got into an accident, and came back in a wheelchair demanding I take care of her. My name is Alex, and I'm writing this down because people need to understand something fundamental about relationships and consequences. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for Act 2. Don't hold out for the extended version with bonus scenes. The first showing is almost always the most honest one you'll ever get. I was with Jessica for 6 years. 6 solid years of what I thought was building a life together. We had the kind of relationship that made older people nod with approval. The kind that didn't create drama at family dinners or require couples' social media posts to validate it. It just existed. Steady, reliable, real, or so I thought. I'm the guy who remembers that the car insurance renews in April. I'm the one who notices when the back tire pressure is low and fixes it before it becomes a problem. When her mom calls while she's at work, I write the message on the bathroom mirror with dry erase marker so she sees it first thing. I keep a shared calendar. I meal prep on Sundays. I fix leaky faucets before they turn into floods. That was our dynamic. She lived in the moment. I planned for the future. She dreamed. I executed. She forgot passwords. I kept them all in an encrypted file. It worked. At least I thought it worked. She used to tell me she loved that about me. How I had everything organized. How she never had to worry because I was always thinking ahead. She'd come home stressed about work deadlines, and there'd be dinner waiting. Nothing Instagram worthy, just real food at the right temperature. She'd sit down and exhale like she'd been holding her breath since morning. "You're the best," she'd say with this tired smile. I believed it meant something. Looking back now with the clarity that only comes from getting burned, I can see all the signs I ignored. Or maybe I didn't ignore them. Maybe I just chose to believe they meant something else. She started going to the gym at odd hours. Not consistently odd, like every Tuesday at 7. Random odd. Sometimes morning, sometimes late evening, sometimes not at all for days, then suddenly 3 times in one day. She bought new workout clothes, started caring about what she looked like before the gym instead of after, put on makeup to go lift weights. Who does that? Her phone became an extension of her hand, face down on every surface. Notifications turned off. She'd be sitting across from me at dinner, and her phone would buzz, and she'd flip it over so fast you'd think it was on fire. Then she'd laugh at whatever was on the screen. Really laugh. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard directed at anything I'd said in months. I started asking questions. Casual ones at first. How was the gym? Did you try that new class? Who do you usually see there? Her answers got vaguer. It was fine. Just the usual people. Nobody really. You wouldn't know them. Then came the bigger questions. The ones that felt like setting traps for myself. Are you happy? Do you think we're still growing together? Do you ever feel like we're just roommates going through the motions? I answered honestly every single time. Yeah, I'm content. We're building something good here. Stability isn't the enemy. I thought we were on the same page. Turns out we weren't even reading the same book. The real conversation happened on a Tuesday evening in October. I remember because I just picked up our photos from the drugstore. Actual printed photos because I'm old-fashioned like that. There was one of us from a hiking trip in summer. She was laughing at something, sun in her hair, and I was looking at her like she'd hung the moon. I was in the kitchen making pasta sauce. I've got this recipe my grandma taught me. Nothing fancy. Just crushed tomatoes, garlic, basil, thyme. The kind of thing that smells like home. I was stirring, watching the bubbles form those little craters, when she walked in. She had that look. The kind that says I've been practicing this conversation in my head for weeks, and now it's showtime. I beat her to the punch. Something in my gut just knew. Is there someone else? No preamble. No easing into it. Just the question hanging there between us like smoke. The silence that followed could have filled a cathedral. She stood there, hand on the counter, mouth opening and closing, like she was trying out different answers to see which one would hurt less. Finally, she breathed in. Really breathed in like someone about to go underwater. And she said yes. 1 word. 3 letters. It hit like a car running a red light. You see it coming for half a second, and then boom. You're in the intersection dealing with the aftermath. I turned off the stove. Put the spoon down with more care than it deserved. Stood there counting to 10 in my head so I wouldn't say something I'd regret. Not regret because it would be cruel. Regret because it would give her ammunition later. How long? My voice was steady. Even I was surprised. About 2 months. 2 months. Not one drunken mistake at an office party. Not a moment of weakness, she immediately confessed. 2 months of active, ongoing deception. 2 months of coming home and kissing me hello with lies still on her lips. 2 months of letting me plan our future, while she was building a different one behind my back. Who is it? A guy from the gym. Brandon. Brandon. Of course it was a Brandon. Probably had a tribal tattoo. Probably posted gym selfies with captions about the grind. Probably called himself an entrepreneur while working 3 shifts at a supplement store. You need to decide right now, I told her. I'm not doing the pick-me dance. I'm not competing for my own wife. You either want this marriage or you don't. But I'm not going to be the backup plan while you test drive someone else. She started crying. The pretty kind of crying, where tears just roll down without the nose running. The kind that's supposed to make men fold. I didn't move. I think I need to go, she said between sobs. I need space to figure things out. Space to figure things out is code for I want to try being with him without officially ending things with you in case it doesn't work. I'm not stupid. Then go, I said. But understand that the second you walk out that door, we're done. Not on a break, not figuring things out. Done. I'm not going to sit here watering dead plants hoping they'll bloom again. She looked at me like she expected an argument, like she'd prepared for me to beg or threaten or promise to change. The thing is, I had nothing to change. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't lied. I hadn't broken the vows we made. She did. She packed a bag that night. I watched from the couch, not helping, not interfering, just witnessing. She kept looking over at me, pausing like she was waiting for me to stop her, to fight for her, to show her I cared enough to make her stay. I showed her I cared enough to let her go. I'll come back for the rest of my things, she said at the door, one hand on the handle, overnight bag over her shoulder. Text me first. I'll make sure I'm not here. She actually looked hurt by that, like I was being cruel, like I was supposed to facilitate her affair by being available whenever she needed to swing by for supplies. The door closed. The apartment got quiet in a way that felt physical, like the air itself was heavier. I sat there on the couch for a solid hour, staring at the wall, doing mental inventory of 6 years. Shared lease, joint bank account, joint credit card, shared friends, shared memories, shared plans for a future that just evaporated like steam. Then I got up, opened my laptop, started making lists. Because here's what Jessica didn't know about me. When I commit to something, I commit completely, whether it's building a relationship or ending one. I don't half-do things. I don't leave loose ends. And I definitely don't let anyone rewrite the narrative later. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked methodically, documented everything, screenshots of texts where she admitted to the affair, date stamps on messages, credit card statements showing charges to restaurants we never went to together, hotel rooms I never stayed in, lingerie purchases in sizes that weren't her usual. I separated our finances, closed the joint accounts, opened new ones in just my name, changed every password to every shared account, made a spreadsheet of every shared asset with receipts showing who paid for what. I spoke to a lawyer, not for advice on how to save the marriage, for advice on how to end it cleanly, with documentation, with evidence, with everything locked down so tight that there'd be no room for interpretation later. The lawyer, this older woman with sharp eyes and sharper suits, looked at my spreadsheet and actually smiled. "You're going to be fine," she said. "Keep doing exactly what you're doing." Jessica texted me a few times those first 2 weeks. Casual stuff. "Did you pay the electric bill? Can I come get my yoga mat? Hope you're doing okay." I answered the logistics, ignored the feelings. "Yes, bill paid. Text me when you want to come by." She wanted it both ways. Wanted to leave but not be left. Wanted freedom but not consequences. Wanted the excitement of new while keeping the security of old. That's not how this works. The accident happened about 8 weeks after she moved out. I found out through Oscar, a mutual friend who still thought we might reconcile. He sent me a text at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. "Did you hear about Jessica?" My stomach dropped for half a second before I remembered I didn't have to care anymore. "No." "What happened?" "Bad car accident. Brandon was driving. He didn't make it. Jessica's in the hospital. Thought you should know." I read it 3 times. Brandon was dead. Jessica was hurt. And I felt absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Not even relief. Just this blank space where a reaction should have been. I didn't go to the hospital. Her mother called me at 2 in the morning, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Jessica was asking for me. She needed me. I was still her husband legally. Please would I come? "I'm sorry about the accident," I told her. "I really am. But I'm not her husband in any way that matters." She made sure of that when she left. "She needs you, Alex. She's in a wheelchair. She can't walk. She's going to need help. She has family. She has friends. She doesn't have me. Not anymore." Her mother called me heartless. Called me cruel. Said I'd regret this someday. Maybe I would, but I doubted it. I hung up. Turned my phone off. Went to bed. Stared at the ceiling for 3 hours but didn't call back. The information came in pieces over the following weeks. Through Oscar mostly. He'd text me updates like I'd asked for them. Through other friends who thought they were being helpful. Through social media posts I hadn't blocked yet because I was documenting everything. Screenshots. Dates. Times. Evidence that she'd moved on. Built a life without me. Right up until that life shattered. Brandon died on impact. Engine crushed the driver's side of his car when they hit a median going 60 in a 45 zone. Reports said it was raining. That the road was slick. That he lost control. His mother later claimed he was distracted by his phone. By a message. People implied it might have been from Jessica. Jessica had spinal injuries. L1 and L2 vertebrae fractured. Nerve damage they couldn't fully assess until swelling went down. The doctors gave her the speech. The one where they list percentages and use words like potential and possible and with intensive therapy. They said she might walk again with months of physical therapy, the right specialists, time, and luck. They also said she might not, that she might need the wheelchair permanently, that her life was going to be divided into before and after. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Surgeries, assessments, pain management, learning how to exist in a body that didn't work the way it used to. Then a rehab facility for another month. One of those places that smell like industrial cleaner and unfulfilled promises. She learned to transfer from bed to chair, how to navigate doorways, how to accept help from strangers, because pride is a luxury disabled people can't always afford. Then she went to stay with her mother because Brandon's apartment was a third-floor walk-up with no elevator. Because all the excitement and adventure he'd promised her came with stairs she couldn't climb anymore. I heard all of this secondhand. I didn't call, didn't visit, didn't send flowers or cards or thoughts and prayers. Her mother's friends would see me at the grocery store and make pointed comments about compassion and Christian duty and how marriage meant in sickness and in health. I'd remind them that Jessica had already left the marriage, that you can't invoke vows you've already broken, that my compassion didn't extend to being someone's emotional support ex-husband. They'd walk away muttering about my cold heart. I'd finish my shopping and go home to my quiet apartment where nobody was lying to me. Some people thought I was a monster for that. They'd corner me at the grocery store or at the gym I'd switch to on the other side of town. How could you abandon her when she needs you most? Don't you have any compassion? What happened to in sickness and in health? I'd look at them very calmly and say, she didn't need me when she was healthy. She doesn't get to need me now that she's not. That usually ended the conversation. About 3 months after the accident, I got a text from Jessica's number. Not her mother this time. Her. Alex, I need to talk to you. Please, just coffee. I know I don't deserve it, but please. I stared at that message for a full day. Didn't respond. Let her sit in the uncertainty the way she'd left me sitting in uncertainty for 2 months while she carried on behind my back. Finally, I responded, tomorrow, 5 p.m., the coffee shop on Maple Street. She replied immediately, thank you, I'll be there. I showed up at 4:55, got my Americano, sat at a table near the back where there was room for a wheelchair to fit. Not because I was being thoughtful, because I didn't want a scene. She rolled in at 5:03. Her friend Katie was pushing her, shooting me dirty looks like I was personally responsible for the accident. I ignored her, focused on Jessica. She looked smaller. Not physically, though she'd lost weight. Just smaller in that way people get when life hits them hard, like she'd been compressed. Thanks for meeting me, she said, after Katie wheeled her to the table and then retreated to a corner table to watch us like a hawk. What do you need? Straight to business. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry about everything. Just what do you need? She ordered a tea she didn't drink. I saw her hands shake when the barista brought it over. I wanted to see if we could work something out. Work what out exactly? She looked down at her lap, at her motionless legs, then back up at me with eyes that were trying really hard to look sincere. I made a terrible mistake, Alex. The worst mistake of my life. And I'm paying for it. Believe me, I'm paying. But I thought maybe we could try again. Maybe we could. No. Just that. One word. Clean as a knife. Alex, please, just listen. No, I said again. I don't need to listen. You made your choice. You chose him over me. You chose to lie to me for 2 months. You chose to leave. Those were all your choices. You don't get to unmake them because they didn't work out the way you planned. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. You knew exactly what you wanted. You wanted him, and you got him. I'm sorry he's dead. I genuinely am. That's a tragedy. But it's not my tragedy. And your situation now doesn't erase what you did then. I'm in a wheelchair, Alex. She said it like it was an argument. Like disability trumped infidelity in the game of who deserves sympathy. I know. And I'm genuinely sorry about that. But your wheelchair doesn't change the fact that you cheated on me. It doesn't change the fact that you left me for another man. It doesn't change the fact that you destroyed what we had. You don't get a reset button because Plan A crashed and burned. Where am I supposed to go? My mom can't take care of me forever. I can't work full time like this. I need help. And there it was. The real reason for coffee. Not because she missed me. Not because she realized what she'd lost. Because she needed a caretaker with a history and emotional investment. That's not my problem to solve. She started crying. Real tears this time, not the pretty ones. Ugly crying with her whole face involved. I didn't move. Didn't reach across the table. Didn't comfort her. Just sat there and let her cry it out while Katie glared at me from the corner. When she finally got control of herself, I spoke very carefully. I have all of your belongings. everything you left at the apartment. I'm going to organize a proper handoff, with witnesses, in a public space, so there's no confusion later about what you got or didn't get. You'll receive everything that's yours. After that, we're done. Completely done. Can't we just... No. Whatever you're about to ask, the answer is no. We're getting divorced. It's already in motion. You'll get served papers next week. Everything will be fair. I'm not trying to screw you over, but I'm also not going to let you rewrite history or manipulate me into becoming your backup plan. I stood up, dropped a 20 on the table for both our drinks, looked at her one more time. You wanted freedom. You've got it. Now you get to figure out what to do with it. I walked out. Didn't look back. Katie followed me to the parking lot, yelling about how heartless I was. I got in my car and drove away. The closure event happened 2 weeks later. I'd rented the community room in my apartment building, sent formal invitations to key people, both our families, a few close friends, even the building manager as a witness. The invitation was simple: formal dissolution of assets and return of property. Saturday, 7 p.m. Your attendance requested for documentation purposes. My sister Rachel called me. What are you doing? Closing a chapter properly. This seems extreme. So was her cheating on me for 2 months and then expecting me to take care of her after it blew up in her face. Rachel was quiet for a second. Then, fair point. I'll be there. The room looked like a condo association meeting. Folding chairs in rows, a table at the front with water bottles, fluorescent lighting that made everyone look tired. No decorations, no music. Just stark, official, documented reality. People started arriving at 6:50. My parents came together, looking uncomfortable. Her parents came separately, looking devastated. Her mom couldn't even look at me. Rachel came with her husband, both of them looking curious about what I was planning. Jessica arrived at 7:05, pushed by Katie again. She looked around the room like she was trying to understand what was happening, like she thought maybe this was an intervention or a reconciliation attempt. It wasn't. At 7:10, I stood up. No microphone needed. The room was small and everyone was already quiet, waiting. Thanks for coming. I know this is unusual, but I wanted everyone here for a specific reason. Jessica and I are getting divorced. That's not up for debate or discussion. It's happening. What we're doing here tonight is closing things properly, with documentation, with witnesses, so there's no confusion later. I pulled out a large bag from under the table, started removing items. These are all of Jessica's belongings that were at our apartment. I've made a complete inventory. Every item is listed here with a photo and description. Clothes, books, jewelry, photos, personal items, everything. I placed a binder on the table. If anything is missing, speak up now. Jessica stared at the items like they were evidence at a crime scene. Her photo albums, her favorite scarf, her collection of coffee mugs, her books, all of it laid out like artifacts in a museum. I've also prepared financial documents. I handed out stapled packets to everyone in the room. This details every shared asset Jessica and I had, how it was paid for, who contributed what, how it's being divided. Everything is documented with receipts and bank statements. Her father started reading, his face getting redder by the page. There's a specific section I want to draw attention to. It's labeled Attributable Expenses. Quote, these are charges made to our joint credit card after Jessica informed me she was leaving. Hotel stays with Brandon, dinners, concert tickets, a weekend trip to the coast, all charged to our shared account while she was actively in a relationship with another man. The room got very quiet. I'm not bringing this up to shame anyone. I'm bringing it up for clarity. These expenses had nothing to do with our marriage or our household. They were personal consumption related to her affair. The total comes to $3,200. I'm requesting, through the divorce proceedings, that Jessica assume responsibility for these charges. That's fair. That's documented. That's final. Her mother stood up. How dare you? Mom, sit down, Jessica said quietly. Her mother sat, shaking with either rage or grief or both. I continued. I've also removed Jessica as my emergency contact from all medical, legal, and financial documents. I've notified our insurance companies, our bank, our utility providers. I've closed joint accounts. I've separated everything that can be separated. What can't be immediately separated, I'll continue paying for 3 months to give Jessica time to transition. After that, she's on her own. I pulled out another document. This was the hardest part, but it had to be done. I want to read something, not to be cruel, but so everyone understands why there's no going back. I opened my phone, started reading from screenshots. Text message from Jessica, May 14th. I need to tell you something. There's someone else. I'm sorry. Text message from Jessica, May 15th. I'm staying at Brandon's tonight. I need space to think. Email from Jessica, May 20th. I'm moving in with Brandon. I'll come get my things when you're not there. Her mother was crying now. Her father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I'm not reading these to embarrass Jessica. I'm reading them so everyone in this room understands that I didn't abandon her. She left me. She chose someone else. She ended our marriage. What happened after that? The accident, her injuries, none of that changes the fact that she made a choice to leave. I closed my phone, looked directly at Jessica. I don't hate you. I don't wish you harm. I hope you build a good life, but I can't be part of that life. You made sure of that when you left. This isn't revenge. This is consequences. Fair, documented, legal consequences. I sat down. The room was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights and someone's stomach growling. The building manager, Mrs. Chen, stood up. I just want to say that this is one of the most professional and clear property dissolutions I've witnessed in 30 years of managing this building. Everything is documented, everything is fair. I'll be providing my signature as a witness to these proceedings. People started to leave slowly, awkwardly, like they'd witnessed something uncomfortable but necessary. My parents hugged me on the way out. My dad whispered, "You did the right thing." Rachel lingered, waited until almost everyone was gone, then came up to me. "You really thought this through," she said. "I think everything through. You know that." She looks destroyed. She destroyed herself. I just refused to clean up the mess. Jessica was still sitting there, Katie beside her, both of them looking shell-shocked. I walked over, knelt down so I was eye level with her. "You get 3 months of covered services. After that, you'll need to take over all your own accounts. The divorce papers will be served next week. Sign them. Don't fight them. There's nothing to fight about. Everything's already decided. Alex, I mean this genuinely. I hope you find happiness, but you're not going to find it with me. You gave that up when you left. The wheelchair doesn't change that. The accident doesn't change that. Nothing changes that." I stood up, started packing up the documents. "One more thing," I said without looking at her. "Don't contact me anymore. No texts, no calls, no emails. If there's something legal that requires communication, go through lawyers. Otherwise, we're done talking. This was closure. That's it." I left the community room, went upstairs to my apartment, made dinner, ate it, watched something on TV, went to bed. Normal life, without drama, without guilt, just life. The divorce proceedings were clean. My lawyer had everything documented perfectly. Jessica's lawyer tried to argue for alimony based on her disability. My lawyer pulled out the evidence of adultery, and the judge shut it down immediately. Divorce granted on grounds of fault. Assets divided according to documentation. No alimony. Attributable expenses assigned to the respondent with payment plan options. Case closed. The gavel came down. 6 years over and 15 minutes of legal procedure. Outside the courthouse, I saw Jessica struggling with the wheelchair on a curb. Katie had already left. Jessica was alone, trying to figure out how to get down without tipping forward. I walked over, not to help, just to end this properly. "You need help? I can manage," she said, voice tight with pride or stubbornness or both. "Good, because this is the last time I'm going to be near you. The divorce is final. The debts are assigned. Everything's closed. Move on with your life, Jessica, far away from mine." "I really am sorry," she said quietly. "I know, but sorry doesn't fix anything. It just makes you feel better about what you broke." I walked to my car, drove home, and I didn't think about her again. Not in the way that mattered. Weeks turned into months. Life continued in that way it does when you finally stop waiting for something to change. I got a promotion at work. My boss, who knew some of what I'd been through because everyone in a small company knows everything, pulled me aside after the announcement. "You've been more focused than ever," he said. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." What I was doing was simple. I was living without having to manage someone else's chaos, without having to wonder if today would be the day she came clean about something else she'd been hiding, without having to calculate the emotional cost of every conversation. I started running on Sunday mornings, something I'd always said I'd do but never got around to because Jessica thought it was boring, thought I should do more exciting workouts. Rock climbing, CrossFit, something with a community aspect where we could make couple friends. Turns out I like boring. I like running the same route every week, seeing the same people walking their dogs, watching the seasons change through the same trees. Boring is peaceful. Boring is predictable. Boring means nothing is waiting to explode. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a 3-year-old mutt named Duke with one floppy ear, brown spots on white fur, and absolutely zero behavioral issues. The shelter volunteer seemed almost apologetic about him. He's not a puppy, she said. He's not a purebred. He's just a good, solid dog. Perfect, I said. That's exactly what I need. Duke and I understood each other. He didn't need constant entertainment, didn't need me to prove my commitment with grand gestures, just needed consistency, food at the same time, walks on schedule, a person who showed up. I could do that. I renovated the kitchen over 3 weekends, ripped out the old cabinets Jessica had spent hours choosing, the ones that had always been slightly too dark for the space, installed new ones in a light wood that made the whole room feel bigger, cleaner, more mine. Got a coffee maker that actually worked instead of the fancy one she'd wanted that broke every 2 months. Learned to make my grandma's sauce better than I ever had before, partly because I had time and partly because I wasn't cooking for someone who'd critique the garlic ratio. I started going to a new gym on the east side of town, a place where nobody knew me, or Jessica, or Brandon. Nobody gave me those sympathetic looks that made me feel like a tragedy. Nobody asked how I was really doing in that tone that meant they wanted details. They just worked out. I appreciated that more than they'd ever know. The talk started by accident. I was at a community center helping my neighbor's kid with a school project about personal finance. The center director overheard me explaining budgeting and asked if I'd be interested in giving a workshop. I said yes without thinking too hard about it. That first talk, there were maybe 12 people. I covered basics: how to separate finances, how to track expenses, how to prepare for the unexpected. At the end, a woman raised her hand. What if you're separating finances because of a divorce? The room got quiet. Everyone suddenly very interested in my answer. Same principles apply, I said. Actually, they're more important. Document everything. Keep records. Don't assume the other person will be fair or honest. Protect yourself first. After the talk, 3 people came up to me with their own divorce stories. Messy ones. Expensive ones. Ones where they hadn't documented anything and were paying for it now. I started doing more talks. 1 a month, then twice a month. Financial literacy. Boundary setting. How to end things properly. The topics evolved based on what people kept asking about. At one session, someone asked the question directly. What if the other person tries to come back? What if they say they made a mistake? I thought about Jessica, about that coffee shop meeting, about her saying she needed me. You give them closure, not a return, I said. Closure means being clear, returning their belongings, cutting financial ties, explaining your decision once and then holding to it. It's not about punishment. It's about protecting yourself from someone who's already shown they'll choose something else when it seems better. But what if they're in crisis? What if they really need help? You can help them find resources without becoming the resource. There's a difference between being kind and being available. You can point someone toward therapy, support groups, disability services, family, but you don't have to be their emotional support system after they destroyed your trust. The talks became known for being direct, practical. No guilt trips about compassion or second chances. Just clear-eyed assessment of what healthy boundaries look like. Word spread. I got invited to do a bigger presentation at the community college. 75 people showed up. I used slides. Case studies with identifying details changed. A whole section on documentation strategies. How to photograph belongings before returning them. How to conduct a witnessed property exchange. How to close shared accounts without missing anything. And then I met Inez. She was at a coffee shop typing furiously on a laptop, surrounded by notepads covered in shorthand I couldn't decipher. I was waiting for my drink. Our orders got mixed up. She took my Americano. I got her oat milk latte. This isn't mine, we both said at the same time. She laughed. I smiled. We switched cups. You're the Americano guy, she said, and you're the complicated order person. Oat milk isn't that complicated. It's 3 modifiers. That's complicated. We ended up sitting at the same table. Turned out she was a journalist working on a series about urban development. She showed me her notes like I'd understand them. I showed her my spreadsheet for the kitchen renovation, like it was interesting. You really like documentation, she observed. I really like knowing where I stand. Bad experience? Educational experience. She didn't push. I appreciated that too. We started meeting at that coffee shop on purpose. Then we went to dinner. Then a movie. Then another dinner. I told her about Jessica on date 3 because I believe in honesty. She cheated on me, left me for someone else. He died in a car accident and she ended up in a wheelchair. She tried to come back. I said no. Inez processed that information while eating her pasta. Finally, she put her fork down. Did you love her? Yeah. Do you now? No. Good, because I don't do complicated. Neither do I. Not anymore. That was 8 months ago. We're solid. Not in a dramatic way, in that boring, stable, predictable way that I've learned to value. She has her apartment. I have mine. We see each other 3 or 4 times a week. We talk every day. We plan things and follow through. It's nice. Jessica tried to reach out a few more times over the months. Texts I didn't read. Emails I deleted without opening. A handwritten letter that arrived at my apartment that I threw away unopened. I wasn't being cruel. I was being consistent. She didn't get to be in my life anymore. Not in any capacity. That door was closed, locked, and the key was melted down. People still ask me about it sometimes. Usually people who don't know the full story. They hear woman in wheelchair and husband divorced her, and they make assumptions. Did you hear about Alex's ex-wife? She's disabled now and he just abandoned her. I correct the record when I hear it. Politely but firmly. She left me for another man. Moved out. Moved in with him. He died in an accident that also left her injured. She then tried to come back, and I declined. I didn't abandon anyone. I simply refused to be a backup plan. Most people get quiet after that. Some people still think I should have helped. That compassion should override betrayal. That disability erases infidelity. I disagree. Last month, I saw Jessica at the grocery store. She was by herself, navigating the aisles slowly in her wheelchair. She looked better than she had at the coffee shop meeting. More confident, more independent. She saw me. Our eyes met across the produce section. For a second, I thought she might wheel over. Try to talk. Try one more time. She didn't. She just nodded. Once. I nodded back. And we went our separate ways through the store, shopping for our separate lives. That's how it should be. Rachel called me a few days later. I saw Jessica at the store. She looked okay. That's good. She told me she got a job, remote work, data entry. It's not much, but it's something. I'm glad she's figuring it out. She also said she doesn't blame you anymore. I was quiet for a moment. I never needed her not to blame me. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. She knows that now too, I think. Good for her. We talked about other things. Rachel's kids, my kitchen renovation, normal life things. The Jessica chapter was closed for both of us. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.